What if the greatest power in your life was found not in what you said, but in what you didn't? Not in motion, but stillness. Not in answers, but silence. What if mastering this one invisible force could change how you think, how you lead, and how you live? This is not just another self-help idea. This is ancient philosophical strategy, rediscovered for a world drowning in noise. Let's go deeper. We live in a world addicted to expression. To talk is to matter. To post is to exist. But what if we've misunderstood power entirely? From the battlefield of Sun Tzu to the political web of Machiavelli, from the disciplined silence of Stoic philosophers to the minimalist wisdom of Lao Tzu, the most influential minds in history have one thing in common. They didn't just speak wisely. They knew when not to speak at all. And that's the paradox. In a time where everyone is trying to be loud, the ones who truly command attention are the ones who've mastered silence. Think about it. When someone in a room says nothing, yet commands respect, what is that? When a leader pauses before answering, what happens? Silence triggers tension. It demands attention. It invites reflection. It's not a void. It's a presence. Silence is not weakness. It is a shield, a lens, a magnifying glass. It slows the moment down. It makes people lean in. And when used consciously, it becomes a superpower. This video is not just about being quiet. It's about learning how silence, observation, and restraint are the keys to invisible influence, personal power, and deep inner freedom. Let's break it down. Why does silence have so much power? The human brain is wired for pattern recognition. In communication, we expect a rhythm, question and response, noise and noise. When that rhythm is broken by silence, the brain lights up. It searches. It fills in the blanks. That's why silence isn't empty. It's where imagination, suspicion, respect, and sometimes fear are born. The ancient philosophers knew this. Silence creates space. And in space, we observe. Seneca once said, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." Why? Because silence is emotional discipline in its purest form. It means you're not reacting. You're observing. You're not playing defense. You're designing your next move. Modern psychology supports this too. The most effective negotiators? They speak less. They listen more. They allow silence to do the heavy lifting. Why? Because when you're quiet, people reveal themselves. And here's something even more profound. The person who doesn't rush to fill the void with words is often the one who controls the tempo of interaction. Silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the control of narrative. To truly understand silence, you must understand its twin, observation. Because in the space silence creates, observation becomes possible. And once you begin to observe, not just hear, not just see, but observe, you become something else entirely. You become dangerous. Not in a violent way, but in a deeply strategic way. Observation is what separates the reactive from the reflective, the impulsive from the intentional. Most people are scanning the world just enough to respond. You're learning to read the room, the words, the body language, the energy, all without saying a thing. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly listened to someone, not just to their words, but to their tone, their rhythm, their pauses, what they didn't say? Because real power lies there, in the unsaid. The Stoics practiced this relentlessly. They believed that if you could master your emotional reactions, if you could pause, observe, and remain centered, then no one could truly control you. Epictetus once taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." But few do. In observation, you begin to see beneath appearances. You notice patterns. You detect inconsistencies. You start to understand intent. And that's where the real game begins. Because when you're the one who sees clearly, you're the one who moves wisely. But here's the deeper truth. Observation isn't just about understanding others. It's about beginning to understand yourself. When you observe your own mind, your impulses, your cravings, your triggers, you begin to disconnect from them. You stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of emotion, and instead, you become the puppeteer of your own destiny. In this way, silence and observation form a kind of inner alchemy, a transformation. Where once there was noise, now there is awareness. Where once there was reaction, now there is restraint. And here's the irony. The more you observe, the more invisible you become. Not because you're weak, but because you're no longer seeking validation. You're not trying to be seen. You're watching, learning, mastering. And in that invisibility, you become something rare. A person who doesn't need to be loud to be felt. Let me give you an example. Think of the best chess players in the world. They don't rush. They study the board. They study you. They don't react to every move with emotion. They wait. They calculate. And when they strike, it's with precision, not panic. You can live your life like that, observing the game, not just playing, but understanding how it's played. Because most people are too busy talking to ever listen, too busy moving to ever notice, too busy reacting to ever reflect. But not you. You're learning the art of watching, the power of pausing, the strength of silence. There's something unsettling about a person who doesn't react, someone who doesn't flinch when provoked, who doesn't chase validation, who doesn't explain themselves. It makes people wonder what you know that they don't. That's containment, and it's one of the most underrated forms of power in existence. Containment isn't about repression. It's not about pretending you don't feel something. It's about transmuting it, holding it, using it when it serves you, not when it escapes you. When you stop leaking your emotions, you stop leaking your power. Think of how quickly people give themselves away. An insult, and they flare up. A compliment, and they light up. A rejection, and they spiral. Their emotional state is like a weather vane, always spinning, always visible. But the moment you begin to practice stillness within, people start to feel your energy differently, because they can't read you. They can't predict you. They can't control you. In ancient samurai philosophy, there's a principle called Fudoshin, the immovable mind. It's the art of calm in the face of chaos, of being so deeply anchored in your center that nothing can shake it. Now, imagine bringing that into your everyday life. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you don't budge. Someone tries to provoke you in a conversation, you smile. Someone gossips, insults, tests you, you don't give them what they're fishing for. This isn't weakness. It's strength that's no longer performative. It's power that no longer needs to be proven. And what's even more interesting, people start to feel it. They start to sense it, because you become an emotional mystery. And in a world where people constantly explain, justify, complain, a person who doesn't say much but seems to understand everything stands out like fire in the snow. Here's a truth most won't tell you. Power is noisy when it's insecure, but silent when it's real. Look at the ones who truly hold influence, long-term, strategic, untouchable influence. They're rarely loud. They don't waste time convincing. They don't flail when misunderstood. They're playing a longer game. And if you want to enter that realm, you must master the art of not giving it away. Don't give away your opinion too early. Don't give away your plan to people who won't understand it. Don't give away your emotions to those who haven't earned your vulnerability. And above all, don't give away your presence to everything that demands your attention. Containment creates magnetism. Because when people don't know what you're thinking, when they don't know what moves you, when they can't access your emotional levers, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability breeds respect. Not fear, but respect. Because they can't play you. And in a world full of open books, a closed one commands curiosity. In silence, you observed. Through observation, you saw clearly. And now, through containment, you wield your insight with precision. This is where most people fail. They gain awareness, but they still react. They see the game, but they still show their hand. They sense the shift, but they still explain themselves to people who aren't listening. But not you. You're learning to hold your power, to feel it without flaunting it, to lead without announcing it, to influence without speaking it. And that is rare. This is the art of inner fortitude, not by suppressing who you are, but by mastering how and when you reveal it. Containment is not about denying emotion, but directing it like a skilled warrior who knows the value of restraint. But here's the question: once you've learned to contain your energy, your emotions, and your impulses, what's next? What does true freedom look like beyond mastery of the self? It brings us to the next key of philosophical power, the art of detachment. Detachment is often misunderstood. Many see it as coldness, apathy, or a lack of emotion. But in truth, detachment is the highest form of presence. It is not the absence of feeling. It is the transcendence of being controlled by those feelings. It is the space between stimulus and response. It's the art of holding life with an open hand, fully present, fully engaged, but never enslaved by outcomes. When you detach from the chaos of external validation, fear of loss, and the need to control everything, you open a door to profound clarity and inner peace. Detachment isn't cold. It's not numbness. It's not indifference. It's precision. It's the quiet ability to observe a situation without becoming it, to see the storm and not get swept into the wind. True detachment is not about caring less. It's about caring correctly. You see, most people live tangled in invisible threads. The need to be liked, the fear of being abandoned, the desire to be seen, heard, validated. They walk into a room and instantly scan for approval. They shape-shift their opinions to fit the crowd. They give away their peace just to be chosen. But detachment gives you back your freedom. Because once you stop depending on how other people feel about you, you begin to feel yourself. You begin to make decisions from a place of alignment, not desperation. Let's clarify something. Detachment doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean you stop loving people. It doesn't mean you live behind a wall. It means you love without clinging. It means you give without needing. It means you stay rooted in your values, even if someone else storms out of your life. Because when you're detached, you don't need people to behave a certain way to feel whole. You choose to be whole first. And that choice changes everything. In ancient Stoic philosophy, they call this apatheia, not apathy, but a state beyond disturbance. It's a state where you still feel, but you don't get consumed. You still care, but you don't collapse when things go wrong. It's the ability to say, yes, this matters to me, but it will not control me. That's what makes you unshakable. Detachment is also the antidote to manipulation, because you can't be emotionally blackmailed when you've already released the hook. You can't be guilt when you no longer seek permission. You can't be provoked when you've stopped giving your energy to chaos. When you're detached, you become immune to drama. You stop needing to explain yourself. You stop needing everyone to understand. You stop chasing clarity from people who thrive on confusion. Instead, you sit back. You observe. And you act only when it's aligned, not when it's expected. You've probably heard the phrase, attachment is the root of all suffering. But that's often misunderstood. It doesn't mean don't love. It means don't lose yourself inside what you love. Hold everything with open palms, whether it's relationships, outcomes, or identity itself. Because the tighter you grip, the more pain you feel when it shifts. And it will shift. Everything does. So the power lies not in holding on tighter, but in knowing when to release. In this space of detachment, something incredible happens. You become lighter, more creative, more intuitive. Your mind is no longer clogged with overthinking. Your emotions no longer hijack your decision-making. You don't need to control everything because you trust yourself enough to adapt. And in that space, you begin to lead, not by force, but by presence. People begin to feel your clarity. They trust you not because you're always right, but because you're not reactive. You become the calm in the room full of noise. That's the power of detachment. Remember, you can love deeply and still walk away. You can care truly and still say no. You can be kind and still be unavailable for dysfunction. Detachment doesn't weaken connection. It purifies it. Because when you're detached, what remains is real. Not obligation, not fear, not insecurity disguised as loyalty. Just truth. Let that sink in. Now you've mastered observation. You've learned containment. You've embraced detachment. There's one final level, and it's not what you think. It's embodiment. The invisible shift from knowing all of this intellectually to living it instinctively. Are you ready? You see, anyone can read about silence. Anyone can quote Machiavelli, Lao Tzu, or Marcus Aurelius. But few can walk through chaos with a calm heart. Few can live these principles, not just speak them. Embodiment is when silence becomes the default. Not forced, not rehearsed, but natural, instinctive, grounded. It's when your presence says more than your words ever could. When your stillness carries weight. When you no longer need to assert control, because you are control. This stage is powerful because it bypasses thought. There's no longer a gap between knowing and doing. You don't choose to pause, you are the pause. You don't choose to observe. You live as awareness itself. That's embodiment. It's like the master swordsman who doesn't think about the blade. He doesn't calculate angles or strategies in the heat of battle. His sword moves as an extension of his being. His body is the technique. His breath is the rhythm. When you embody silence and observation, your life becomes your philosophy. You don't speak of patience, you radiate it. You don't announce your boundaries, they're felt. You don't respond to every attack, because your restraint speaks louder than your retaliation. This level doesn't need recognition. It doesn't seek praise or validation. It's not dramatic. It's not glamorous. It's subtle. It's felt. And it's undeniable. The paradox? Those who reach this level often go unnoticed by the untrained eye. They walk lightly, but with gravity. They speak little, but with impact. And when they act, it's like thunder in a silent night. To embody this wisdom, you must integrate it. It can't be something you practice only when life is easy. It has to show up when you're tested. In the chaos, in the betrayal, in the delay. That's when embodiment reveals itself. So how do you get there? Start by closing the gap between theory and action. Ask yourself daily, am I just reciting this, or am I becoming this? When someone offends you, pause. When your ego flares, observe. When you feel the need to speak, don't. Just breathe. Be still. Watch. Each moment like that is a brick. A brick in the temple of embodiment you're slowly building. And one day, without even realizing, you'll look back and see you are the person you once imagined. But don't rush it. This isn't a performance. It's not about looking wise. It's about becoming so deeply rooted in presence that even silence becomes your language. And speaking of becoming, now that we've touched the final stage, let's do something most people forget. Let's zoom out, because the power you've cultivated, the awareness, the control, the restraint, the detachment, the embodiment, it's not just for you. There's a greater responsibility here, a deeper impact you can make. Let's explore that next. You've done the inner work. You've sharpened your perception, tempered your reactions, and merged your identity with presence. Now what? Now comes the ripple. Because whether you realize it or not, when you live in this way, you influence others without trying. You lead without speaking. You shift the atmosphere of every room you enter in silence. This is the quiet power most never see coming. Think of it this way. In a world addicted to noise, the one who carries stillness becomes magnetic. When everyone reacts, the one who remains centered commands attention. Not by force, but by frequency. That's influence. It's not about manipulation. It's not about charisma or clever tactics. It's about energy, alignment, resonance. People feel you before they hear you. They feel your peace when they're in chaos. They feel your clarity when they're confused. They feel your certainty when everything around them is unstable. And something in them says, I don't know what it is about this person, but I trust them. That's influence born of embodiment. You don't need to tell people how wise you are. You don't need to post quotes about stoicism or ancient philosophy. You just live it and let them experience it through you. Even your silence becomes a teaching. Even your restraint becomes an example. Parents influence their children like this. Leaders influence their teams. Creators influence their audiences. But the most powerful influence? It happens without intention, just through being. Think of the monk who walks through a war-torn village in silence. The villagers stop fighting, not because he told them to, but because something about his presence makes violence feel foolish. That's the ripple. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need a platform to have it. You don't need millions of followers. You just need depth, stillness, alignment. You don't change the world by shouting at it. You change it by changing your frequency and allowing that frequency to ripple outward, one interaction at a time. You become the anchor in someone's storm, the mirror that reveals someone's chaos, the presence that gives someone else permission to be still. This is legacy, not what you leave behind when you die, but what you transfer through the quality of your being. Now, so ask yourself, what kind of ripple am I creating? Because you don't need to do more to have more impact. You just need to be more of what's rare, present, grounded, unshakable. Now, before we close, there's one last thing we need to talk about. Something easily overlooked in all of this inner mastery talk. And yet, it's the thread that ties it all together. Let's bring everything home by returning to the one thing that makes this whole path real. Integration. You've observed. You've contained. You've detached. You've embodied. And now we integrate. This is where all the work becomes real. Where philosophy is no longer a set of concepts, but a lived experience. Think about it. All the wisdom we've discussed isn't valuable in theory alone. It only holds power when it seeps into your daily life, when it shapes how you interact with the world, not just how you think about it. Integration means making silence your natural state, not something you do only in specific moments. It means embodying observation so that it becomes second nature. It means choosing to be present and intentional in every conversation, every decision, every moment. You stop compartmentalizing your philosophy. This is no longer something you practice once a day or once a week. It's who you are. This is where the true shift happens. You don't need to remind yourself to be calm in chaos anymore. It just happens. You don't need to consciously tell yourself to breathe before responding. You just do it. You don't have to force mindfulness into your routine. It flows into your life. This is what it means to live the philosophy. It's seamless. It's effortless. It's you becoming one with the practice, to the point where you don't even need to try. But how does this happen? The answer lies in consistency. Consistency is the bridge between awareness and mastery. It's the day in, day out commitment to showing up as the person you've become, not the person you once were. In the beginning, it might feel like you're trying to embody these ideals. But over time, those efforts become habits. And those habits become your nature, your new baseline. And with that, you start to notice something profound. The chaos doesn't go away. The world doesn't magically become peaceful or predictable. But you are different. You handle stress with ease. You navigate conflict with clarity. You lead with presence, not power. You're no longer just responding to life. You're shaping it. So, how you take that first step toward full integration? Start by reflecting on how you can weave each aspect of what you've learned into your current life. Where are you already applying the wisdom? Where could you improve? Ask yourself, how can you practice silence even in the middle of a busy day? How can you observe without judgment in moments of conflict? How can you be more detached from the drama around you, while still being present for the people who matter most? And how can you embody your true self more fully, without slipping into the old patterns? Integration isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about making small but meaningful shifts in how you approach life, so that over time, those shifts accumulate into something bigger. It's a dance between effort and ease, between awareness and action, between being present and letting go. And once you begin to integrate the teachings fully, you'll find that life starts to unfold in a way that feels more aligned. You'll start moving with a quiet confidence, a calm authority, and an unshakable peace, no matter the storm. But here's the key to all of this. The journey doesn't stop here. The more you live this philosophy, the more you discover, the more layers of yourself you uncover, the more wisdom you gain. And as you integrate, remember that you're not just transforming yourself. You're transforming the energy around you. Your presence will begin to ripple out, influencing the world without you even trying. You will be an anchor of calm, a center of peace, a master of your own destiny. This is the art of living. And with that, we've come to the end of this journey, or rather, the beginning, because living the philosophy, mastering silence, embodied observation, and integration is just the start of a never-ending path to deeper understanding and greater control. As you've journeyed with me through this process, you've learned the foundational principles that can radically change the way you see yourself and the world around you. But here's the most powerful truth. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new path, a new way of being, a new way of engaging with life. We've touched on the philosophy. We've broken down the core elements: observation, containment, detachment, embodiment, integration. Each one of these is a tool, a powerful tool, that you can use to navigate life with grace, clarity, and wisdom. But now the real challenge begins. The challenge is to take these ideas and live them. The challenge is to practice them every day, even when it feels difficult, even when you feel tempted to slip back into old habits. Because, as you've learned, transformation is a constant process. It's not something you do once and forget. It's something you live day in and day out. And as you continue to walk this path, you'll notice that the world around you changes. But more importantly, you will change. You'll begin to experience life in a completely new way. You'll find yourself more centered, more calm in the face of chaos, more attuned to your true self. You'll experience deeper peace, and ultimately, a greater sense of freedom. And you know what's amazing? This isn't some distant goal. This is something you can begin right now. In the smallest moments of your day, you can choose to observe without judgment. You can choose to detach from negativity. You can choose to embody your highest self in every action. You can choose to integrate all of this into who you are becoming. So, as you move forward, take a moment. Reflect on what you've learned. Reflect on how far you've come. And most importantly, reflect on who you're becoming. Now, I want to leave you with one final thought. The journey is never really over. The philosophy is always unfolding, always evolving. There's always more to learn, always deeper layers to uncover, and always more peace to find. So take this wisdom, live it, embody it, and share it with the world. Because when you do, you not only change your own life, you change the lives of everyone around you. If you found this journey valuable, and if you're ready for more deep, transformative wisdom, make sure to subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out on the next step in your philosophical journey. Thank you for walking this path with me. And remember, the wisdom isn't just in the knowing, it's in the living.